Welcome back, Geordies. It's Adam from Two for Joy here. I've got a lot to go through in this one. It's an interesting one. Make sure you stay till the end because there's some interesting stuff in this one. But we'll start with the transfer links for Newcastle. Whether we'll get something done before the end of the window, nobody knows. But hopefully, fingers crossed. I've got a little bit about Newcastle versus Liverpool pre-match. The big game, the headliner, Saturday night, 8 o'clock. We're all looking forward to it. And then some interesting stuff on the Champions League, my personal opinions, and some articles I found online which really wowed me. So we'll start off with the links to players in the transfer window, and we have been linked to Brooke Norton-Cuffy from Genoa, the Italian Serie A star. He's made 21 appearances with 1 goal and 1 assist. He's a right back, stands around 6 foot tall. He's an ex-Arsenal youth player and also in the England under-21 setup. He's starting 91% of games for Genoa, and he averagely plays around 88 minutes per game. So he looks like a really substantial figure in that Genoa side, and he's valued around 16 million euros. He looks a really decent player, and as a right back, probably someone that we should be targeting this window. He looks like a very Eddie Howe style signing, especially with Eddie confirming that Tino Livramento is out until March and Fabian Schär is out until April. We could really do with the backup. I know we've had other links to Dayan Methele from Toulouse, and that one still seems to be rumbling on. But what I would say is he was due to be back from a knee surgery in December, and he's still not back playing. So I think Newcastle will give that transfer a miss. And if I'm honest, I think Brooke Norton-Cuffy is a very Eddie Howe style signing. This could be one that Ross Wilson has lined up. He's at the right price point. He's got a promising future. He's very much in the mould of coming through as a Tino Livramento or as a Lewis Hall. Young English talent with a promising future and a high ceiling. And then to go on to Newcastle versus Liverpool, and I'll try and get through all of this stuff as quick as possible. But I was trying to think of the last time I could remember Newcastle beating Liverpool at Anfield. And for the life of me, I couldn't remember when it was. So I had a Google, and the last time we managed to beat Liverpool at Anfield in the Premier League was 1994. So I'll be quite honest, I'm not holding much hope for Newcastle turning over Liverpool at Anfield tomorrow. But what I would say is Liverpool have had a very similar season to Newcastle this year. We've both had quite a turbulent season, very up and down, very hit and miss, not very consistent at all. And Newcastle have had what I would say is a very good defensive structure, conceding very few goals and lacking the attack. And Liverpool have had polar opposite, with an array of attacking talent and the ability to score goals, but what seems like a poor defence this season and leaking a few. And we've both had some very worrying issues with breaking down low blocks and some shock results against teams that we both should be beating. So if I had to put my life on the line and say give a score prediction for this one, it's probably not the prediction everybody wants to hear, but I think this could be a 2-1 or a 3-1 to Liverpool. My only hope is Newcastle's consistently being inconsistent, that after the Champions League game where we turned up and looked like the more likely team to win against PSG, I wouldn't say we were the better team, but I would say I felt like we were the more likely team to go on at the end of that game and win. You never know. You just never know. It's set up to be either a bore draw or a wild ride, as always. The Newcastle versus Liverpool in Premier League history has always been a spectacle to behold. But moving on to the Champions League, and some interesting stuff. So basically, I was looking up the referee that refereed the Newcastle Paris Saint-Germain game, and his name is Salko Vincic. And when I looked online, I discovered an article by the Mirror and the Chronicle and a few other newspapers that in 2020, Salko Vincic was invited to a business meeting that ended up being raided by the police. And I'll read you the headline of the article, which is Champions League ref taking charge of Prem side made his biggest mistake in sex party arrest. And when I went through this article, and I'll start with his own words, he said, I found myself on this ranch by chance. I have my own company. I was in Bosnia-Herzegovina for a business meeting. I accepted an invitation for lunch, which turned out to be my biggest mistake. I regret it. And the interesting thing from the article was that when the police raided the house of this business meeting, they deemed it to be a sex party. And during the search of the house and the vehicles, they said the suspects that were there at the party had 14 packages of cocaine, 10 pistols, 3 suits of body armour, and over 10,000 euros in various currencies. And I found this really interesting because, in my personal opinion, or we'll start with, he was cleared of all charges. These were only allegations, and he was asked to be a witness of what happened at these parties. But in my personal opinion, I find it very interesting that a high-level, or now high-level referee within the Champions League would have been around or associated with people in this kind of world. And in my personal opinion, as we all know, Nasser Al-Khelaifi, who is the president of Paris Saint-Germain, is also on the board at UEFA level. And Paris Saint-Germain have previously been accused and have had allegations made within the media, in the public domain, of not doing things exactly above board. And one specific allegation was that Nasser Al-Khelaifi was involved with a high-ranking secretary from UEFA who ended up being prosecuted and found guilty of taking bribes and falsifying UEFA documentation. So what I'm trying to say is, in my personal opinion, I found it very interesting that this referee would be refereeing a game for Paris Saint-Germain at the Parc des Princes in similar circumstances to what happened to us 2 years ago, with some very poor decisions being made. And like I say, this is all my personal opinion, but that UEFA would take on a referee like that and he would pass the test to be fit to referee Champions League football when there are these huge sums of money being banded around for football clubs, and the value of winning or losing a game in the Champions League is massive. It can affect teams wholesale for their year earnings. And I just found it very interesting that he would be refereeing this game in a situation where, should Newcastle qualify, it meant that it would have been 6 of the 8 teams that qualified in this Champions League would have been from England. And I'm not making any accusations. I'll let you make your minds up for yourself. But my personal opinion is it's a very strange situation to have this specific referee refereeing a game at Paris Saint-Germain when their president is on the board at UEFA. My personal opinion. So I found that wild. But let me know in the comments what you think. Give me your score predictions for Newcastle versus Liverpool. Let me know if you think I'm being too hard on the tune. And hopefully, guys, I will see you in the next one.